So, I welcome you all, and I greet the viewers of VNTV, and I will talk about creation and presence. I've had a lot of presentations, and I've tried to show how I see life. Don't believe anything, so always investigate. So, I usually tell everyone that I'm not the one who has all the answers, so don't think that I'm going to give you the ultimate truth, but what I can say for sure is that it works for me. So, I'm going to outline how it works for you, and I'll provide specific stories alongside that, which means I'm not trying to brag, and don't misunderstand why this is happening. It's just that you can achieve the same things in your life, so I'm no different from you. So, I'm going to outline how it works for you, and I'll provide specific stories alongside that, which means I'm not trying to brag, and don't misunderstand why this is happening. It's just that you can achieve the same things in your life. So, I'm no different from you. Just like no one is better than anyone else, we are essentially the same. That's the essence of it. So I'm not different from you in any way. Just like no one is better than anyone else, we are essentially the same. That's the essence of it. And the first thing is, what is the purpose of life? And you know, this really makes people think a lot about what the purpose of life is, what your goal is. And you know, there are pleasant things in life, and there are also things that are a bit unpleasant, that hurt, and don't feel good. So, there are both kinds. Duality and doubt dominate life. I was happy, but passion sometimes causes suffering. And my life as well. So, I was very happy for a long time, and I was constantly in that state. Let's say that's a default setting for me, thank God. And there are times when the opposite also appears in me, when we usually say that passion causes suffering. So, isn't it interesting? In yoga, passion is called rajas, and it causes suffering. So, isn't it interesting? In yoga, passion is called rajas, and it causes suffering. So, when you're passionate and you get more and more into these things, you get really invested, sooner or later, you're going to suffer. Something will happen. Because that's how life works. And this is realistic. So I'm going to talk about realistic things, okay? So there won't be any fairy tales in it. And the whole world is ruled by a duality. And what do most people do alongside all this? They eat, drink, go to the bathroom, mate, and defend themselves. They don't do anything else. And that's neither good nor bad. So I'm never going to talk about good and bad, but rather I'm going to share facts, things that I've done myself. So I started from here too. And I'm going to talk about my own journey, how this changed for me, this awareness. But this is what animals do too. So how would I be any different from an animal? You know, animals eat, drink, go to the bathroom, mate, defend their families, and protect themselves, their little nests. Well, the difference is that we have intelligence, so we can examine that. If I do this, this is the result. Then next time, if I do it again, it's likely that the result will be the same or something similar. So 1 and 1 will not be 3. We twist it any way we want, so it's math. And I've also realized that if I change and make changes, then a change occurs in my life. Law and philosophy and its role in life, how we ride waves, regarding fate, the waves of karma, how can we surf them, stay on top. It's important because we sometimes fall off the surfboard. I climb back, stand, and balance, so that you are destined to be the waves of karma. How can we surf them? So, how can we stay afloat on the waves? Because I think this would be important because sometimes we fall off the surfboard. I fall off too, that's obvious. I climb back up, and then I stand up again, and I try to balance and stay on top. You know, we would really be like a reed, blown back and forth by the wind. Say if it breaks after a while, because reeds are hard to break, but if it does break, then it drifts back and forth on the water's surface. The yogis documented this for thousands of years, creating a complete body of work, yoga itself. You know, the word yoga comes from yuj, which means to unite. Basically, yogis observed seers who brought the wisdom of yoga via divine inspiration, meditation, and self-observation. Yoga is both theory and practice, making us responsible for our fate. There is a predetermined destiny, like an orchestra piece where the guitarist solos. So, there's a predetermined destiny, a film directed by a higher power. I like to say, it's like in an orchestra when a piece is written, and the guitarist goes out and plays a solo. So the guitarist can play a solo, but when the solo ends, you have to return to the original piece. Because you can't play anything else. Because if I was your puppy now, we would be playing there, or if I arrive at night, then I can't go to the other one. So there are fixed things in life that the director arranges. And we have our opportunities for improvisation. So we can improvise. That's what I usually say. So we are responsible for ourselves. So I've come to realize that I'm responsible for my life. Well, it can't be that my ship just drifts here once and then drifts there another time. Well, that would be too strong, wouldn't it? That's not what I saw. It's not what started to take shape. So we have the ability to free ourselves from suffering. And how we can approach this? By first finding the meaning of human life, what your life is all about, whether you were born just to die in the end, and then, I don't know, you lived 40, 50, 100, X years, and worked from morning till night, and in the end, you just fell over. Did you create a family? Is that the meaning of life? And after a while, I started searching deeper, and I said to myself, there's no way that this is all there is to the meaning of life. Well, there has to be something more. Some greater guiding principle, something much bigger that started to reveal itself to me as I was searching. So they tell you to search, and sooner or later you knock, and it will be opened. And man is the only one on earth, so man is the only living being who has a unique intellectual ability. So what makes us better than animals is that we can decide whether to do this again and take the risk that it will be the same or something similar, or change it, because you simply understand that if you get the same thing again or something similar, then the same thing will happen again. So if you're not present in the moment and not paying attention, you won't notice the signs. The signs are there in everyone's life, not just in mine. These are specific signs, like when someone says something for the third time, and before that 2 others said it too, but you just didn't hear it. So if you're not in the moment and not paying attention, you won't notice the signs. So the signs are there in everyone's life, not just in mine. These are specific signs, like when someone says something for the third time, and before that 2 others said it too, but you just didn't hear it. And then life is trying to warn you that this is what's going to happen next. And for me, after a while, this puzzle started to come together more and more. And then life tries to warn you that this is what's going to happen next. And for me, after a while, this puzzle started to come together more and more. And after a while, you can get to that point. I'm going to move a little ahead, okay? A little teaser just to get you excited about the content of the next part. Ow. More and more as the signs came, I could see the puzzle pieces, and I was starting to put them together like, this is what's going to happen. I'll give you an example, okay? So when the second person said that their car broke down, I knew I would be next. You can wait for the third one, but with the third one, I was the one who got out of the car, and it was already making noise, and I had to go to the mechanic. So it always proves to be true, at least for me. But I say, don't believe anything, just pay attention to the present, that we are always warned in advance. The point is, are you present? So are you paying attention to the now? So musicians often do this, because then you pay attention. Otherwise, you're not really paying attention. You're not even there. Your thoughts have taken you away. So you're not present. So when I'm working with someone and they're sharing their life story, and then I ask them something, after a while they can't answer because they're not really there. They're just rambling on and they can't respond to it. Not being present in the moment. You have to be present in the moment. For me, yoga brought the ability to be in the moment, which means I can grasp the sequence of events and see the connections. So there are connections. Specifically, I will break these down for you. Law is the union, but what are we uniting with? Well, with the God that lives within us. Well, with what else? So there's nothing else. It's in everyone and it's all powerful. So it's here, it's in everything, it's in everything. That means it's there in the I Ching too. So my opinion about the whole world right now is that everything is exactly as it should be, and everything happens exactly as it needs to. The question is, can you remain human in the present age? Or you go back to the animal level, you downgrade yourself. These are your 2 choices. There's no third choice right now. So good morning. The selection process is still ongoing, even though everyone believes that a decision has already been made. Basically, we're either going this way or that way. So you either go down, back to eating, drinking, mating, defending, using the bathroom, or you start on the path and become more and more aware, and you'll see why things happen the way they do. All right, we'll get back to the I Ching too, okay? So there is only one nation, the nation of humanity. There is only one God, the universal God. And this is the reality. There is no other reality. So when I got to the point in Shaolin Kung Fu where I was teaching kids Kung Fu, I also found in Shaolin Kung Fu, the Chan Buddhism, the warrior Buddhism. When I read the Tao Te Ching, I found it in the Tao as well. So when I went to Taoist retreats, to Qigong and Tai Chi camps, I studied with Mihaly Vadas. He was my master. That's when I found God there too. So God is in everything. It doesn't matter at all that the little figure on the altar has a beard and slanted eyes, Of course it matters, because he will say that it doesn't matter. Because God is in everything. Do you understand? So I've come this far and I'm moving on. And the remaining purpose of my life from now on, the reason I'm in this outfit, is to serve people through yoga, which means I want to awaken the faith in God in people and lead them to themselves. This is my goal. I also told my master that I want to do this for the next 50 years, and he accepted it, which means you'll see more and more of this kind of outfit. Well, sometimes I wear casual clothes, but I'm going to wear them less and less. And I've come this far in my own life. These are really big things, at least for me. But I'm saying, don't believe anything, examine everything. I'm just saying, to realize yoga means to achieve self-realization, right? So to realize God within ourselves, since he is within us, not in someone else. But to do this, you need to live a proper life and keep the city of the 9 gates clean. So you have a body that has 9 holes, 9 gates, and if you keep them clean, this is your watch, your ear, and I don't think I need to list them. You will find them. If you keep these clean and live clean, you will feel a completely different vibration and see a completely different world. You'll see events in a different way. So from that point on, your third eye opens and you see everything. So you see what's coming and you'll see what's coming, because it's already there. So everything is here at once. The past, present, and future are all here at once. It's just a question of whether you notice it. You need to be in tune. It has to be in tune. I tune in with yoga. If you tune in somewhere else, everything, so it could be Qigong, Tai Chi, or a bunch of other things, just find your own path. So my master always told me, Swamiji, Maheshvalanda Swamiji, that, practice, practice, practice. Practice, practice, practice. This is one of the most important things. Practice makes the master, and then live that way and do it too. So don't just be like those who come to me, because they are very spiritual. And they visit me, and I ask them, are you actually doing it? He says he doesn't have time for that. Well, now you've actually collected certificates, put them on the wall, and that's good for that too, so it's good for wallpapering, but it's better if you live it. So whatever you start, please do it with all your heart. So if it, then it will be yours. Until then, it's not yours. Until then, you're just trying. You have to really experience the whole thing. And I started to adapt these yoga principles and foundations into my life. And then I started to understand that if I incorporate these into my life and build my life around them, which means I have a daily routine, I have a framework, so there's also discipline in it, because that's important too. That's the only way something will come of it. If you don't make a plan, then something will happen. Of course, something will happen, but it will be what you want, or something similar, or something will definitely happen in some way. And I realized that when I plan, I usually say that I have a plan, so I have a basic plan. But it can be modified at any time, just like a marketing plan, quarterly, semi-annually, annually, and then we'll see what happens. But I have plans, so my goal for the next 50 years is this. And it's written down, submitted, and it's like a thesis I've submitted to serve and teach people through yoga, to primarily serve my fellow human beings. This is the most important thing. And then this happens. So let's look at why it is that there is the Jivatma, the individual soul. You are a Jivatma, an individual soul. You came down because you wanted to enjoy. You came to this earthly planet and you said, I will enjoy and everything will be good. I will make it happen. And you came down, you chose a body, right? You calibrated a body, an avatar with the karmas of your previous lives, and then the soul was born into that. And then you dance your little karmic dance. There is the Jivatma. And when you realize yoga, the Jivatma unites with the true self, the Atma. The Atma is the true self. And the Paramatma is God himself. So each of them is within us. And after a while, when the soul's mirror is clean because it's been polished so well, it will notice, oh, this is me. Well, this is me. So I realize that the one who looks in the mirror is me. So he looks through me. Well, this is where I've gotten to in my life. And since the Atma is part of the Supreme Self, the Paramatma, they are essentially identical. So it looks like there's the sea or the ocean, and then there's the raindrop. So the raindrop eventually returns to the ocean, then it rises again evaporates, and then condenses again. So this is an eternal cycle. This is samsara. So samsara works like this, just like life and death. You come, take on a body, you have a plan, and you either realize that plan or you don't. You know, most of it is, eating, drinking, mating, and defending. This is what you do. Well, you won't achieve anything with that, but you will achieve something. So I think it will be too little in your life to experience constant happiness. You know, a lot of people confuse constant happiness with pleasure. Pleasure is when you have a beautiful moment, like being with your partner. These are pleasures. Pleasure is fleeting. So, in one moment this is here, and in the next moment it's gone. You see, constant happiness is something that is always there. And you think, or when they look at you, they think you're a bit strange because you're always laughing. So something must be off with you, because you're in a state of Ánanda. So I'm trying to convey to you that you can also be in a state of Ánanda. This is an eternal bliss, a happiness. You simply feel good because you're on your path and doing it. And it's the same for you too. And the second part of creation is the power of presence, focusing on the tattvas and the gunas. So let's take a look in law at what the tattvas and gunas are. The tattvas are the elements, the 5 elements: earth, fire, water, air, and space. Right. So here it all is. And they are paired with the gunas, which are the binding forces. They start to pair with the binding forces, and that's how something comes to be. So in the beginning, based on the legal scriptures, there was nothing. It's an emptiness, but everything is contained within it. So the universe itself, just empty. You can experience this when you close your eyes, and after a while, when you're not focused on paying bills, when the faucet isn't running, and you're not bothered by someone sawing or whatever, eventually you reach a point where you feel emptiness within you, and you arrive at that state of emptiness. Emptiness is fantastic because everything is contained within it. Everything is potential. So anything possible? The question is, what do you want? And what does the main director want? So there's the main director too, you know? And then over time, you'll realize that it's best to do what the main director says, because that's pretty much how it should be. And then, over time, you'll realize that it's best to do what the main director says, because that's pretty much okay. The dormant energy is an immeasurable force. Everything is contained within it. Creation began when the all-pervading divine consciousness took form, in the first vibration, in the womb. You know, the AOM, Trinity, is Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. Brahma is the creator, Vishnu is the sustainer, and Shiva is the destroyer who recreates and liberates. So it doesn't matter if we're in Hungary, if we're in Ukraine, or if we're in India, everyone has these 3 energies within them. With this, you can create. This means you can create something, you can maintain it, so you can build a house, keep it up because you clean it, renovate it every now and then, repaint it, or redecorate it. You beautify it, and then when you say, all right, I'd rather have another one, you can also rebuild it. So you have Shiva energy within you too. And if you want, you can break it down and bring something new into existence. Pay attention, because creation is very exciting, as everything is constantly being created. Every thought, every spoken word, every action is creating right now in this moment. Vedas, sound forms universe, Om Shiva Purusha Prakriti. The highest form is sound, so it first manifested as sound. And from that, the universe was created, which encompasses everything in the Om. I mentioned the Shiva aspect, and there's Purusha and Prakriti. Purusha is the ancient consciousness, and Prakriti is the primordial nature. So these are the 2. Prakriti is the divine energy, the eternal trinity, while Purusha is the divine self. In the Prakritic, 3 gunas, or motivating forces, were created, and it is full of them. The gunas, tamaguna, isn't it tamas? When someone lives in ignorance, well, they still don't know what's going on. So I was in that for a long time too. I thought I'd wake up in the morning, go to the gym, then we'd go out partying on Friday night, and then on the weekend, we'd be chasing girls, going here and there, and it was just fine the way it was, because that was it. I got scared. I usually say, don't be ignorant with me. And there is the drawing of activity, movement, restlessness, suffering. When someone is very restless, they're in a state of passion. And these are binding forces, which means that if you associate with that, if you pair with that, then you'll be part of it. So if you're too passionate, then you'll also suffer, because suffering will appear with passion, that's for sure. Because I have experienced this too, and so have the yogis. The tattvas and gunas are primordial forces that affect both the material and the astral planes. So they affect us everywhere. You know, there are cosmic forces in the human body. These are the chakras. You obviously know this too. I won't go through all the chakras. These are energy centers. And you can also influence your energy centers, both with asanas, so in yoga with the positions, the postures, and with pranayama, the breathing techniques. With the breathing techniques, you can still influence. There are 72,000 nadis where energy flows. It's like the nervous system, and it can absolutely be established. So the human body is a miracle. Today, you received a miracle. You were born, and most people don't live with this miracle, but just waste their lives thinking that everything is random. Something will happen, then something will come, and someone will show up to say something. Well, that's definitely how it is. But then death comes, it just shows up, what we call it, and then the elements break down and return to the cosmos. From that point on, you've lost the Shakti. So from there, you no longer have the opportunity to do anything. Then you'll come back. So the unity that you received, the credit you have in your account, it's worth using it wisely, and you can access it. And I will tell you how you can access it. So the wheel of birth keeps spinning. This is the wheel of samsara. It keeps turning continuously, like a squirrel running in a wheel. The soul wanders through the circle of existences based on its karma and actions. The soul wanders through the circle of existences based on their karma and actions. So what you did, how you acted, in the end comes the reckoning when you're there all alone and there's nothing left. I also worked in hospice with people for many years. I was also there when my mother died. I held her hand. So it's worth experiencing these things in life to have real knowledge about it, not just to hear stories about it, thinking that maybe one day we'll meet there. But I've always been curious about how it happens. And many people's minds break down there, and their habitual patterns fall apart because at that point, you don't know what to do anymore. So you're already at the mercy of the situation, and it's a shame to wait until then. I always say, don't wait until the last moment, because you'll regret wasting your life. But I've always been curious about how it happens, and many people's minds break down there, and their habitual patterns fall apart, because at that point, they don't know what to do anymore, so they're already at the mercy of the situation, and it's a shame to wait until then. So I always say, don't wait until the last moment, because you'll regret wasting your life. That's why I came to awaken everyone for nothing else. This is my life's mission. According to the tradition of yoga, there are 8.4 million different living beings. It's very simple, we won't get into a biology lesson, but there are actually 3 groups. So there are beings live in the air, on the ground, underground, and in the water. So we won't get into that now because it's obvious, but everything is precisely created here. So the creator is brilliant in how they created the game. The question is, do you know the game? I've read many chapters of the Vedas, and in the Vedas, I found the blueprint. I used to say that if you buy a washing machine, you can push it back and forth in your mouth. You can, and then you will realize how the washing machine works. Because I realize it, because I keep pressing. But when there's a basic user manual for life, if you read it and it's written in a way that you can actually understand it, because if you don't understand it, I've asked many people, but if you do understand it, then from that point on, you realize that this is happening for you because you understood it, and then you just have to use it. So you know the user manual for life, and then you use it in your life. And then you're not just modeling things anymore, you're living consciously. So you know the instruction manual for life, and then you use it in your life. And then you're not just modeling anymore, you're living consciously. Practicing yoga supports and accelerates a person's development. So you put yourself on a fast track if you practice yoga. The evolution of consciousness is fulfilled in the divine state of being, samadhi. I have also been on a samadhi retreat with Master Prakas. I suggest you experience it. So it's worth going, trying out as many masters as possible, and experiencing it, because it has given me a lot, so much. We were on a 5-day retreat, and these practices are fantastic. You can learn from everyone. In fact, I think it's really great if a person experiences these things. And when the knower, the knowledge, and the object of knowledge become one, so the one who is searching is what they are searching for. So basically, you're searching for yourself. Everyone is searching for themselves. But usually they look for it outside. Well, you have to look for it inside, and you have to tidy up inside first. And to tidy up yoga, there are tools to help. Imagine yoga as a technician with a tool for every need. So imagine yoga as being designed like when a professional technician comes to you, opens a bag, and has a key for everything. You wouldn't touch a boiler yourself, and neither would I. They know exactly where to reach, and they even have the key for it. Yoga has been created this way for thousands of years. It's a perfect system. So specifically, you and I wouldn't touch a circus device, knows where to reach, and he even has a key to it. His law has been created this way for thousands of years. It's a perfect system, and this can be understood. I've been studying yoga for 11 years. In 2013, my master Maheshwarananda Swamiji introduced me to this yoga system in everyday life. And I became his devotee, his student. And everything is there. So everything is written down. And it works exactly like that. So it works exactly as it is. Because the books came to me later, as they had already happened to me. And when I read the book, I just looked at it and thought, my God, this is how it works. It's really written. So I didn't read the book for the first time and it was created, but it already happened. I read it and said that this is what I was looking for, these answers. So you will find the answer in your law. You start with the asanas, and then you smoothly progress into yoga. The guru is very important. You know, gu and ru lead from darkness to light. It's very important. So it's not just like now, oh, this is such a tradition, and now this is how it should be. No, I usually say that if Szilárd Nemeth had gone with a Sherpa a year ago, he probably would have come down. Because he was told by a Sherpa who went up that he saw him cold there, but he couldn't stop because he was bringing someone down. So the Sherpas are running up and down the Himalayas, and they're not the ones taking selfies. Instead, people go there, plant flags, and they are the cool guys. A Sherpa can do this 3 times in a day, but at least twice. And the Sherpa is very important because the Sherpa knows the Himalayas. No matter how much you want to climb up there, I've climbed walls too. But just because I went up a 30-meter wall, it doesn't mean I can climb the Himalayas. So the guru is very important. Without a guru, there is no realization. In this earthly life, it's not that way because it's precisely designed that the guru is within you. So the guru, it's within you, not outside. When your third eye opens, you'll see your guru. In 2013, my third eye opened, and I saw Maheshwanda Swamiji, and I felt like I was going to go with a shovel. On March 15th, 2013, the biggest snowstorm hit, shutting down the western part of the country. Only tracked vehicles moved. I was determined to reach Swamiji in Vepur, near Shombathali, from Tarnok, a 200-kilometer journey. Despite the shutdown, I felt the guru calling and resolved to go, even with a shovel. And I was coming from Tarnok, which means it was at least a 200-kilometer journey. I felt the guru calling me. I felt that the time had come, and I said, if I have to, I'll go with a shovel. So you will feel it and you will experience it, and it will happen. Just let it. So, develop your viveka, your ability to discern that there is this and that. I will never say something is bad or good, just that it is this way or that way. And then you'll see who your guru is. And the guru is very important. Won't work without them. Who are the gurus? So first of all, there are the Siksaguruk. The Siksaguruk are your teachers. They are like, what do I know? Your mom, dad, foster aunt, foster uncle, teacher aunt, teacher uncle. And that's how the skilled worker goes well. If you went there, your master, it goes well in line. And this Siksaguru, they are also very important in life because if you want to learn to dance, you need a dance guru. But he is not your spiritual initiation master. He is not connected to your soul. He is connected to movement and dance to your body. But he is also very important. And then there's the Diksaguru, who is the initiation master of your soul, who gives you a mantra. And if you chant that mantra, you are continuously connected to him. It's like, if I grind this grain and I say the mantra that my guru gave me, it's like I'm calling him on the phone and he's always on the line. So imagine the mantra like this. You see, the manas is the mind to purify, liberate, and elevate the mind. You see, the mind is all about your habits. It should be this way, it should be that way. It can't be this, it can't be that. Your upbringing, all of that is in your mind. And since the mind creates the world, as they say in India, Manumatra Jagat, this is an ancient saying, which means that what is in your mind will manifest for you. Which means that now I should give you a specific example. In my childhood, I saw that my dad sometimes leave my brother behind. You see, Dad worked a lot, he was tired, and when he got home, he would say, "All right, my little boy, you were naughty, puff." And you see, I was scared because I said I was a little thin. "Oh God, just don't hit me." And then he left my brother behind, and I was watching that. And then over time, I also had children. I have 3 sons, and I'm not so proud of it. But my 29-year-old son, his name is Chabi too. Sometimes when he was in elementary school and he had his moments, I was tired too. And every now and then, a slap would come. And what I realized, kids, is that this hand moves, and this is my dad's hand. It's not me. But in the moment or in the present, and you examine yourself, and you say that, if I waited, and that wasn't good for me either, then why am I passing this on? And it took me a long time to work these things out for myself. Because awareness and observation, and over time even my sitting posture was such that I sat straight like my dad. So we copy these things. So a child acts like Control-C, Control-V. So you copy and paste the mind. The mind is imprinted on the Regan from birth. And from then on it hears, sees, feels, touches everything. So the world programs you through your 5 senses. You have to be really aware to recognize this. Because after a while I started to notice and realize, whoa, this isn't even me. It's actually my dad. And it's not just me. My mom said the same thing. She said exactly that. And after a while, I began to confront myself with these things because you recognize it. So there's that recognition. Well, it's not me, but my mother said so. That's exactly what mommy said too. And after a while, I started confronting myself with these things for the first time because you recognize them. So there is recognition. And after a while, it's mantra, 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 practice. It won't happen any other way. So anyone who says, well, something will happen anyway. I don't need these unnecessary things. It can be done this way too, is missing the point. What worked for me was clearing my mind. And I still have plenty of tasks ahead of me, but I see what my task is. So the difference is that I can see these things now. So it's those who have knowledge that can take you somewhere. The Jivatma, the Paramatma, and the Atma. We're going to skip over this a bit and take a look at karma, because that's much more exciting. I will have stories about that too. So karma, karma is the cause and effect, the field of actions, the realm of actions. Actually, Newton found the same thing, action against action. So everyone is talking about the same thing, that I have an impact, and then it comes back. So I throw a boomerang, and the boomerang will come back. And karma is about actions, and fate is cause and effect. As you sow, so shall you reap. But how do we create karma? It's important to understand these things. Because as long as I didn't understand, I was acting all over the place too. And that was a mess in my life and its outcome. Thought, spoken word, actions. And those actions where you encourage someone to do something, and they do it for you. He gets karma too, and you get karma as well. So there's no escaping karma. That's exactly how it is designed in the universe. This is one of the main principles. The basic principle, the fundamental rule, is karma. That means if you trust someone, and you trust someone against another person, you will receive the karma in the same way. So maybe not in that exact percentage, but everyone will receive it. So the cause and effect will come back. But how and when does it come back? Well, that's exciting. After our death, the body decomposes, the elements return to their origin, but we remain as a spirit without a body. So this is when someone sees themselves, like when they've passed away, and they're in a car, and they say they saw themselves. Of course, they saw themselves because they were starting to separate, so they were beginning to exit the body. Well, that's exactly what most people talk about. You see, our feelings, knowledge, and memories are preserved in the subtle material layers, in our astral, mental, and causal bodies. So everything is preserved. and you take everything with you to a different dimension. Nothing will be lost. It's just a question of what will be activated in your current life. We're going to dive into these as well to see what kinds of karmas there are. There's Sanchita karma, which is your karma from previous lives. In your past life, you created karmas, leading to prarabdha karma, which you now receive as it ripens. You shot an arrow in your past life, and it's approaching you. Chanting mantras and living well can slightly change its path, avoiding a head hit. As I usually say, you shot an arrow in your previous life, and that arrow is coming towards you now. And suddenly, if you chant mantras, if you perform positive actions, if you live properly, then you can slightly modify its trajectory. Shamigi taught us that you won't hit yourself in the head, but let's say on your shoulder. Well, it does make a difference, doesn't it? So whether it shot you in the head or maybe just grazed your shoulder or hit your ankle. So yes, you can do this much with karma, but not much more, because you will definitely receive it. The question is, to what extent do you receive it? So for example, my son and I were driving with Hanuman, and it was a divided highway. You could go either way. It was dark at night, with lights everywhere, and I really had to pay attention. And suddenly I felt like I should pull the steering wheel to the right, because a car was coming towards us. And in that moment I heard the sound, I saw it visually, and I yanked the steering wheel. Well, a car came towards us. But the difference was that my son spoke up from the back when we stopped in the car because I slammed the brakes hard. He said, "What was that, Dad?" I said, "We slammed the brakes hard because a car was coming towards us." "But Dad, something's not right here." "Well, you went down faster than the car was coming." So I spotted Hanuman because he's also present, and the kids are pretty present too, as long as they're not distracted by their gadgets. That the car hasn't come out yet, I've already lowered the steering wheel, and when I lowered it, the car came out. So let's not look at what came first, the chicken or the egg, but life has proven to me many times that you can avoid your karma, you can refine your karma. Let's say the third guest says that their ankle is out, and I'm already treating the third sprained ankle. Then I pay attention to the moment, and just as I stepped out, my ankle didn't go out. So then I pay attention to the moment, and just as I stepped out, my ankle didn't go out. So everything is there, and everything is laid out in front of you. The question is, how tuned in are you in your life? You can achieve tuning in like when a piano tuner comes and tunes the piano, right? Because if it's out of tune, you can hear that something's not right there. Well, you're just like that too. So a person is an instrument, and this instrument can be tuned. You can tune in with your yoga, with the asanas, the movements, because tomorrow morning we will practice asanas together. I'm going to teach you a completely different type of movement sequence. You start to be present and pay attention, and you'll notice from the signs what will happen to you in the next moments. I guarantee this to you. So whoever follows yoga and takes it seriously starts to tune in, to be in tune, and will live more confidently in their own life, which means that it very rarely happens that he falls off the surfboard. So you stay up more and more, balancing, and just like that, the small and big waves come, but you can manage the surfboard. In the next part, we will continue presentation. Now I think we're going to take a little break. And thank you very much for your attention.